Welcome back to the Rodey Bros, everyone. Josh here, and today we are going to be talking about how to win at the end of games. I've had so many players request for this and tell me, hey, I get in the top 15, the top 10 almost every game, but I can't close the deal. Well, I'm going to give you my tips on how you can reduce the risk of dying by unnecessary means. And by that, I mean a sniper camping in a bush that ends a game where you are doing amazing, or maybe you get pinched by two players and you didn't handle the situation correctly. So my goal today is to tell you all what you need to do to get that victory royale. My first tip is don't panic, and I think this is so underrated because I've seen so many players say, hey, I get in the top 10 and then I just can't seem to win, and there's multiple reasons for that, but I think this is one of them. And so many players get nervous and that affects your shots. You get antsy, you make bad decisions, and it just really ruins the game for you, and you're kind of psyching yourself out. Don't let that happen to you. Don't beat yourself. You need other opponents to make good plays to beat you. Never let it be that you are too nervous to hit shots and can't get the job done. So what I do is I usually take deep breaths after each kill, kind of just let the adrenaline slow down a little bit because I know there's some gunfights that are just so intense that you can't believe you got the kill. You need to take a pause after that, reflect on it. That's why it's good to build one by one cubes. You can kind of feel safe for a second, regather your bearings, and go from there. And I'd also talk about visualizing your situation. What do you want to do? What's the next gunfight you're going to be in, and how are you going to execute? You need to think about these things, and just remember, stay calm, relax the shoulders, and trust me, this will help you long term. You cannot panic in these fights. You have to be calm and make the other players regret coming to fight you. Tip number 2 is building, and now I know every YouTuber and their mother has talked about how crucial building is, but I want to go a little bit more in depth and kind of give you a few extra points. So one, you should always build after you kill an enemy and you are healing or looting them. It's so key to avoid taking unnecessary damage. There's so many times where I think I'm by myself, somebody shoots me in the back and I end up getting like 4th when you could have won the game, but it sucks because you underestimated your opponents, you thought you were safe, and you're not. Always build no matter what. It's just super helpful and just a good precautionary habit to have. Another really useful building tip is whenever you are in your 1x1, which hopefully you're 2 layers up or 3 levels up, if someone's coming to ramp raid you, usually they get to the very top or one above it. Whenever someone's charging me like that, I always like to throw a little chaos and randomness into the mix. So I will immediately build stairs on that side and build it 2 levels up. So you have 2 levels of stairs that kind of throws off their ramp raid, and then they have to readjust their route. And unless they're a really experienced player like Ninja, it's gonna throw them off and kind of give you more time to reassess the situation. So I would always do that, and you can even build flat mats around the top of your base, so that way you kind of have this little platform that you're chilling on, and you can kind of look down on whatever enemy is trying to get up to the top. My final building tip is crowd control, and I think this is so important because oftentimes when you're in the top 10, you are going to have 2 enemies shooting at you at once, just because that's the way it works out, and you need to be able to assess the situation, figure out which one you need to deal with first, and kill him, and then go on to the next one. And so what you do here is build walls on the opposite side that someone's shooting you, and then go after the one person that you've decided is the target you need to take out first, or be easier to finish off. So that's what I always recommend. You don't want to be taking shots from 2 or 3 sides. Sometimes it's unavoidable, don't get me wrong. There's multiple times where I've still done this strategy and died just because they were laying into me with grenades, rockets, ARs, whatever the case may be, and you just can't avoid it. But this is something that you need to try to control the best you can, and it will give you the best chance of survival. So I highly recommend that. Do not underestimate an opponent. Remember, always try to fight one enemy at a time if you can. One additional tip that goes off of not panicking and also building is whenever you are in a safe spot, you better be healing to the maximum you possibly can, and this goes for the very start of the game. I see so many people that will have like 75 shield and won't go all the way up to 100 even though they're holding on to a shield pot just because they don't want to use it. They want to save it and they think, you know, the next gunfight I get in, I'll get to use the full 50. No, you don't know if you're going to survive that next gunfight without that additional shield or that additional HP. I watch Ninja always heal up, and it can be for like 8 HP or like 10 shield. He will still use his resources. I recommend you do the exact same thing. If the best players in the world are doing that, you should take the time to do it as well. That's why building is so important. It's protecting yourself and getting to the max you possibly can. Do not save anything for the end game because you may not get to use it if you don't use them early nearly enough. My third tip is a two-parter. The first one has to do with zone location. One of the biggest mistakes I see new players make is they rush towards the center of the zone like tilted towers, and then they'll kind of stay right in the center and just keep getting in engagements where they'll get pinched by 3 people and wonder why they are not making it out alive. That is super frustrating, guys, and you need to stop doing that to yourselves. So what I recommend is usually I like to be on the outside of the zone whenever it finally settles and then work my way to the next zone. This way you know nobody's on your flank, and then you can go forward from there and kind of readjust your strategy. Then off of that, the second part of this tip is terrain location. Obviously, hills and high points are the best because it's much easier to shoot and eliminate someone that is below you rather than having to build up or shoot up at them. So I highly recommend whenever you do get in these zone locations, you focus on what would be the best vantage point and where you can see most of the map and also defend yourself against enemies. Now, please do not sit still. I've seen so many people that build up, sit still, and then just get shot in the head with a sniper. You don't want to do that. Don't be that guy. Avoid that. But what I'm saying is you can take out multiple enemies if you get the high ground with explosives, which are very key and we will talk about next in our inventory section. But if you get the high ground, you can win these 1v4s if your entire team got eliminated in a squad game and you have zone advantage. So definitely focus on this, guys. You have to be in the best position on the map if you want to give yourself the best chance to win. My final tip has to do with inventory, and it's so crucial to have the right weapons and heals to win these end games where it can come down to 1 hit point. Like, that can make the difference. So what I advise for you, only ever waste 2 spots for heals. It is too many to waste 3. I see some people carry med kits, mini shields, and shields. It's just too much. You need to have the right weapons for the right situations, and if you just are carrying an AR and a shotgun, it's not going to be enough if you maybe need a rocket launcher or if you need a sniper in a situation. So just be aware of that. Be aware that, you know, it sucks to leave shields behind, but sometimes you have to for the good of the rest of the game, and so you do win these engagements. And now I'll run through my inventory and which weapons are my favorite for the end of games. My first weapon priority is always the AR. This should always be in your number 1 slot. At least that's where I like to keep it, because these are what's going to be great for long range gunfights, medium range, even short range after you hit someone with a shotgun or a sniper and you need to switch back for a little bit of damage to finish them off. So an AR is number 1 priority. All of them are relatively strong right now, even though the regular ARs, their accuracy seems to be a bit decreased ever since the update. So be aware that the burst AR may not be such a sleeper anymore. It may be more effective, and we all know the scoped AR is much stronger now as well. Then in my second slot, I like to use a shotgun, whether it is pump or tac. That is your decision based on how accurate you are, but that way you can switch to your shotgun. For a close range, you can hit somebody, whether it's the pump, and then switch back to the AR to do the last bit of damage if you didn't get a headshot. Then in my third slot, I love to have explosives. I absolutely love the rocket launcher. It is way too strong, and it absolutely ruins Ramp Riders' days. I absolutely love this weapon, and it's just good for all situations. So highly recommend finding an explosive. You need to be able to take out structures at the end of games. And then my fourth slot, I like to have my heal. So whether it's mini shields or a med kit or whatever I can find, I absolutely love mini shields. You get the most health back the quickest, and at the end of games, that's really what matters. But that's up to you, whether you have med kits, band-aids, whatever you like to carry. That's where I would put number 4. And then in number 5, if I can find a sniper, that's where I like to put it, because you can snipe, immediately switch to the AR if you didn't do a headshot, and you can finish the opponent off. So this is the strategy you need. You need something like an AR, a shotgun, and an explosive, and a sniper to kind of deal with all situations you could possibly get into. But there are other weapons that are useful. The new tac sub that's been updated is super useful. That gun is so strong and great for switching off a shotgun if you need to do immediate damage. And so these are things that you need to consider. I would always have an AR and a shotgun and an explosive, but then you can kind of intermingle with the last two and kind of decide if you are good with the sniper, and if you aren't, maybe carry a tac sub or another heal if that's what you want. But at most, remember, 2 heals, that's it. Don't waste any more slots. And that's everything I have for my tips on how to win at the end of games. Thanks so much for watching. I hope these tips help you win games that otherwise eluded you earlier in your Fortnite career. Cole and I appreciate all the support you have been giving us, and we are going to continue to make more guides and tips. If you have any more tips on how to win at the end of games, please leave them in the comments below. I definitely didn't hit everything. And if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and share it with your friends if they're struggling to win as well. Thanks again for watching. This has been Josh from Rodey Bros, and I will see you all in the next video.